Okay, great.
There we go. Yep.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back at CES with you, a pioneer in this industry, bringing people together, getting to know the other people in the industry, plus what everyone's doing. And I'll tell you that period of time when I was an analyst, because I was a builder for many years. I've been in the AI industry since 2012 and was launching products. And then I founded an analyst group because essentially nobody was doing the type of research I wanted to be done in the space as a buyer. But now I'm back as a builder. And I will tell you throughout that whole time, it's always been important to see what other people are doing, understand what's real. And you do a great job of bringing people who are actually doing real work and not just putting out press releases.
Not just putting out press releases. So let's talk a little bit about that. So your company, as I understand it, has processed over 2 trillion AI tokens in 2025. So that puts you at a scale challenge that most people don't really understand when it comes to AI. Let's talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about what the platform, the Fuel iX platform is. I guess it's a number of different products, but let's talk about that in terms of the scale that you're managing and the lessons that you're learning at the very edge of AI deployments.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give people a perspective, AI tokens is sort of the lowest common denominator of AI processing. That's probably like 500 billion words or something like that. But there's images and things. So it's not exactly a one-to-one in there. And I think what you'll find is that most large enterprises are doing a few single-digit billions. And that's what we were doing a year and a half ago. So from, if you think about how fast that this can grow, it's all based on users, and the users are adopting it and they're getting benefit. And that's what we've seen. Now, Telus Digital is part of Telus Corporation, which, if you're not familiar with Canada, they're like the Verizon of Canada, the big telecom, but they're a diversified technology company, a very large healthcare organization, very large ag tech organization, and then Telus Digital, which has both consulting services as well as we run contact centers for several hundred of the largest multinationals around the world. So what does that mean for me as a builder? Well, I have like a living lab that I can test a lot of things in, and we can deliver immediate value. And that's one of the things I really like about AI, generative AI in particular, is that it's really getting us beyond a lot of the barriers that we started to hit in late 2017, 18 in terms of how much we could do with the old style NLP, NLU-based technologies. So Fuel iX, we have a platform, think of it as a control planning gateway, allows different applications to hit multiple large language models or image, video models, whatever it might be. But you basically have one place you can go and you get access to all of them, which means you can do multi-architecture or multi-model architectures as well. We also have several applications. We have a general productivity tool, which we call copilots, not to be confused with the folks in Redmond, which also they call it Copilot. We have an S on ours. I don't know. We can talk about that later. We have a number of applications in the contact center. We've got things for physicians, which automatically transcribes patient visits. We also have what I think is the industry-leading AI safety and security testing and continuous monitoring tool as well. And so a lot of different applications. And because we're doing so much, we've run into a lot of the scaling challenges probably before many of the other folks. And some people have done a lot of, has anybody processed 10 billion tokens in here? Do they know? Okay, so if you haven't done more than 10 billion, I won't even go to the higher numbers. But that's, I think that's really where most organizations are today. They're in the low billions in terms of number of tokens. And I've got 6 external customers as well. And most of them are doing in the hundreds of millions of tokens right now. A few of them are getting into the low billions, the more advanced ones.
Thank you. I think one of the things that we chatted about a few days ago was the whole safety and security thing when it comes to AI. From what standpoint do you guys approach that? Is it safety and security of individual workers' data, of company data, tell us a little bit about that landscape for safety and security when you're fielding AI deployments to 50,000 employees.
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's important context that Telus is a Canadian company. Canada has stricter restrictions and expectations of companies using AI. And so you sort of start out with that regulatory environment. But there's also a commitment from the company to not only protect the employees, but then protect the customers. And so we've been very aggressive. Like the company, before I started in 2023, the company was winning awards for being very progressive and at the forefront of some of this. But the first thing that you need to think about with AI safety and security is it's different than security that you might have from the applications that you're familiar with in the past. And those applications did not have what we would call probabilistic technologies behind them. So they were deterministic. However you programmed them, that's how they operated. And once you knew how it was going to operate, it did it the same way every time. Now they're probabilistic, so that's one change, and that can affect safety or security issues because you don't actually know always what the output's going to be. You can actually have the exact same query, could be an attack, could be benign, doesn't matter. You could come back with different answers. How many people have done that? They've typed something in and they get a different answer, like everybody, right? Now, it happens less when you ground the data with RAG and some other types of things, but it is something that happens. So the first thing is there's variability, but the second thing you have to think about is the safety aspect. And what I find is that security teams, which are largely responsible in large enterprises for testing these solutions, under-index on AI safety. They're not thinking about terrorism or political manipulation or incitement of violence and those types of things. But these are all things that your generative AI models know something about because they were trained on the internet. And these are the types of things that in addition to security you have to do. And so when I think about Telus, we started from the beginning thinking about safety and security items because those are critical. They're both critical because they both have potential negative impact. And then the other thing that we think about is it's not just about the model. So, and we could talk about it in a minute, but we've done a very extensive testing. Our Fortify solution, does tens of thousands of attacks very quickly, novel attacks, all these different types of things. And we can interrogate a model, right? And so you can say, is Claude safer than GPT or Gemini or something like that? But when you deploy a system, you don't just deploy a raw model. At the very least, you have a system prompt in there, which is appended to whatever the user types in. That changes the behavior of the model. But then you start connecting it to data sources and other systems and add maybe agents. And so you need to also think about testing the entire system and continuously monitoring it. And so when Telus thinks about this, they're thinking about all the different stakeholders, internal, external, but we're also thinking about the system we're putting in front of of the users and covering both the safety and security aspects.
Okay, so answer me this question. So a lot of people, we do a GovAI event, and in the public sector, most public sector employees are using AI outside of their work, right? But they're using it for work. You've deployed a system for 50,000 employees. Are you finding the adoption of the system that you're deploying is that enough for them, or do you think they're still using AI outside their own license for ChatGPT?
Shadow AI.
There you go. That's what I was looking for.
How many people know the term shadow IT? Right? It's like people are using technology that is not approved by your CIO, your Chief Information Security Officer. Well, shadow AI is just as, if not more prevalent. Everybody has access to ChatGPT, Gemini, and they want to use it because you know what? Most people want to do their job better, right? They're not nefariously trying to get away with something. They're just trying to do their job better.
They love M-Dash. What can I say?
There's actually an interesting story about that. My daughter actually uses M-dashes, and someone accused her of actually using AI. But so, so Shadow AI, we actually did a study last year about this time, and we found that 54% of employees at large enterprises were using personal accounts. So personal generative AI accounts. And so who knows what's going out into the ether? And by the way, those personal accounts aren't protected, right? The same way that you are an enterprise account, they promise not to train the model and all that. Personal accounts, That's all out the door. So that's been a big thing that people have been focused on. And I'll tell you something else that's really interesting from that. 2/3 of people who work in organizations that provide them with some sort of generative AI solution from Google, from Microsoft, maybe from Telus for Fuel iX, 2/3 of them are still using personal accounts. Right? So that's, you not only need to provide something to them. If you don't provide it, they're just going to use it. But if you do provide it, you better provide something that's as good, comparable as what they can get off the shelf, because they want to do their job better. They want to get home to their family. They want to get that promotion.
Hey, 2/3 of 50,000 people is a lot of people, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think KPMG took a show of hands how many people used AI today. Most of the room raised their hand, and it was 9 a.m. It is become part of our lives. And there's been a lot of talk about AI bubble, but the genie is not going back in the bottle. I mean, here we are. So Bret, as we wrap up here, give us a prediction for 2026 about where we're going to be next year when we're sitting here at CES AI House. What are we going to see this year? What might surprise some people that happens in 2026?
Well, you might feel like software development has been changed radically up to this point, and it has. It's going to change more in the next 12 months than it has in the last 3 years. We're seeing a lot of companies that are doing 100% of their code is being generated by AI models. So that's one. Second is I'm going to make a similar but different prediction than last year. Last year I said there'd be some AI incident. There was actually at Anthropic this year. This year I think there's going to be we're going to know about a large enterprise, which is going to have an AI safety and security issue that's going to be significant this year. But on the upside, what we're going to find is it's not going to be that many agent-based solutions, but there's going to be a number of companies are going to come out and say that they're saving hundreds of millions of dollars a year using generative AI because it's that impactful. And in fact, over the last 2 years, we've generated between 100 and 150 million in economic value with the solutions we've deployed both internally and with our customers.
Okay, you heard it from Bret Kinsella. Let's give it up for Bret, GM of
Thank you.
Fuel iX and Telus Digital.